Today, we're going to be ranking every single Walt Disney World ride. And just to be specific, just the rides, no shows. We are going to be including the Carousel of Progress and the Railroad. But we are judging all of these rides based on a certain criteria and in categories. So first, the criteria. Some rides will be higher or lower than others based on wait times, re-rideability, thrill, length, and the overall atmosphere or feel that the attraction gives off. This is very important later in the list. But then we go into the 5 different categories. Towards the bottom of the list, it'll be I won't go on or I guess I'll go on rides. But as we get farther along, it'll be I'll go on, but it's always busy, I'll go on, or I have to go on before I leave. So without any further ado, number 51, the Prince Charming Carousel. The wait times aren't bad, but why would you ride it again? It's a one and done. Next, number 50, Mad Tea Party. Sometimes it gets long, but overall, it's an okay ride. Just if you've been on it, you know what to expect. Number 49, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. You know, it's a great classic Disney dark ride, but other than that, nothing really great about it. Number 48, Triceratops Bend. Once again, nothing really great about it. You've been on it once, you've been on it enough. Whoa, would you look at that? The category's changing. Anyway, number 47, Kali River Rapids. For whatever reason, this ride can get absurdly long to wait for, and you get absolutely soaked, so you don't need to go on it again. Number 46, The Magic Carpets of Aladdin. It's just another Dumbo ripoff, and it does not seem to fit well in this area. It just seems very out of place. Number 45, The Seas with Nemo and Friends. Other than its unbelievably long queue and a few cool set elements here and there, this ride is just not worth it to go on anymore. Other than if you want to go watch Turtle Talk with Crush after you get off the ride, or if you want to go to the seas to see all the different types of aquatic life, which is really cool. But other than that, it's just not worth it. Number 44, The Journey of the Little Mermaid. When this ride first came out, it was great, and all the animatronics looked great. But now it's starting to run down and all of the animatronics do not work as well as they once used to. And because of that, it is slowly starting to dip on this list. Don't get me wrong, it's still a great ride, just not as good as it once was. Number 43 is Dumbo. Now this is a great ride for kids and it is in a perfect area, but a spinning ride can only be so high up on this list. Number 42 is another spinning ride in Alien Swirling Saucers. Now the only thing this ride has going for it is Toy Story themed. That's it. Number 41 is the Barnstormer. This is a great first roller coaster in case if you have a fear of them or if you just haven't been on roller coasters before. But other than that, it's kind of out of the way of the park, so it's kind of hard to remember. The category is changing into number 40, Peter Pan's Flight. Now I know this is going to strike a nerve with a lot of hardcore Disney fans, but it deserves to be this low in the list due to how long it takes to get on this ride. Why would you take an hour or more of your entire day just to go on something as mellow as this? Plus, the animatronics also look very creepy. Look at this. They need an update or at least a refresher sometime soon. Number 39 is Small World. Now you have to go on this ride at least once to hear one of the most iconic songs ever written, and it's a great ride overall, but it's starting to show its age, and just don't look up at the ceiling, it looks really bad. Number 38 is Astro Orbiter. Now this is the best spinning ride in all of Disney World. However, it has one of the most ridiculous ways of getting on the ride with an elevator, but it serves some of the best views of any park. Number 37 is Tomorrowland Speedway, a great relaxing ride, but they need to change the gasoline-powered cars to something else. Number 36 is the Railroad. Now this is a great relaxing fun ride if you're okay with waiting in the absurd lines it takes to get on. But other than that, it serves some of the best views in the Magic Kingdom, and it also shows the nostalgic side of Disney. Coming in at number 35 is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Wow, okay, where do I start? So, first of all, this ride is way too short. It is very pretty, but it's way too short, and why are the lines 2+ hours consistently every day? Unless if you happen to go when it's still not that busy at the parks, it's still an hour wait. Why? It is way too short for the ride, and, you know, it's a fine coaster, but nothing great. Oh lord, okay, so now we're moving on to number 34, Frozen Ever After. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a great ride. It has some of the best visuals and animatronics of any ride. But wow, no one wants to wait an hour to 2 hours for this anymore. It is just a boat ride with some creepy animatronics. Number 33 is Na'vi River Journey. In a lot of ways, this ride is underrated because of how pretty this ride is. But in a lot of ways, I think it is properly ranked right here the way it is. It would be a lot better if the ride was longer. It would also be a lot better if the lines weren't so long because it sits right next to Flight of Passage. So if it didn't have that going for it, then, it would probably be one of the best rides Disney has ever made. And it has one of the best animatronics Disney has ever made. So, gotta go on it for at least that. Number 32 is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Now, don't get me wrong, this is very pretty. It's a very nice ride. But there's no story. It's just the movie Ratatouille again. That's all it is. And, okay, the set pieces are very pretty, but it does a terrible job with implementing screens. It just feels like you're watching a movie. Number 31 is Soarin'. Now, if you would have asked anyone 10 years ago what their favorite ride was, this might have been in their top 5. But now, since they made this new version of the ride with new music and new scenes that's all CG, it just doesn't look good anymore, and it's not the original soundtrack. And plus, Flight of Passage kicks this ride's butt, so that's why it's so low.
And on the left side of the boat is our first stop, which is Inspiration Falls. Wow, very inspiring.
So obviously number 30 is Jungle Cruise. Now, like I said before in the description, this ride completely depends on your skipper. If you like their sense of humor, you'll like the ride, but if you don't, you may not like it.
Look at that, it's jumping right over the boat, there it is. Wow, incredible stuff, they are so fast. You know what they say? Get out.
Number 29 is Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Now, for whatever reason, sometimes this ride can get extremely long to wait for. For that reason, it's a little low on this list, but other than that, it's great, it's lots of fun. I'm very competitive, so trying to get a high score every single time is amazing. Whoa! Number 28 is Slinky Dog Dash. Now, this is a great roller coaster. Like the Barnstormer, it's a great starter coaster. It's not too thrilling for the little ones, but it's also just thrilling enough to where if you're older, you can still appreciate it and still have a lot of fun. However, the lines on this ride do get very, very long, so you'll have to make sure to get to the park either early or ride this at the very end of the day. Whoa, the category's changing. That's crazy. And number 27 is Journey into Imagination with Figment. Now, this ride used to be a lot better. However, the only reason why this is still cool is because of little effects here and there, and because of the song. The song has a soft spot in my heart, and it has some really cool set elements and reveals like the ending of the ride. It's really cool. Number 26 is Living with the Land. Now, this is a great ride. You don't need to be a Disney fanatic to appreciate this ride. This is very, very, very important because it shows you different ways that different plants and food can grow in the future, and it is all real, so that just makes it so much better. Number 25, Grand Fiesta Tour. Now, this ride is heavily underrated. It is basically everything that's great about Small World, everything that's great about Journey into Imagination with Figment, and puts them together to create an amazing ride that is perfectly fit within the Mexico Pavilion. And it has a great song that is super catchy with cool animatronics at the very end of the ride. Number 24 is Mission Space Green Mission. Now, I am a thrill seeker, so this ride is perfect for people like me, and I think it is a bunch of fun, and it is the tame version to the more intense Orange Mission, so it is great, and this ride is always at a low wait time, so it's worth it to go on. Coming in at number 23 is the Mission Space Orange Mission. Now, this is the more intense version of the ride, and a lot of people hate it. They hate it because they can't handle it. This ride is made for thrill seekers and for people who want to know what it feels like to be an astronaut. This is the closest thing you can get to becoming an astronaut on a budget. So this is perfect for people like me, and I love it dearly.
And he put them together in a show called Carousel of Progress, which we are now about to see.
At number 22 is Carousel of Progress. Now, words cannot express how happy this ride makes me. It has one of the best written songs for any ride ever made. It is so unbelievably catchy. This is incredibly funny and fun to watch, and it still holds up today in terms of entertainment value, and it's still very educational to show how the American family has transitioned through all the years, and it is peak Walt Disney. This is the ride that you need to experience at least once in your life. At number 21 is the prettiest girl in class, Spaceship Earth. Now, this is a great history type ride. Now, this is the epitome of Epcot. This is exactly what Epcot stands for. It is educational, but it is also super entertaining and really cool to see all of the different types of animatronics and different types of ways people were living and innovating in the past. And it shows us exactly where we've come today, and they do need to update the ending and update the ride in general, but it is still fantastic. At number 20 is the People Mover. I definitely have a soft spot for this ride just because I love Tomorrowland and it looks so cool from up above. It is so cool to see people moving down below, and you get great views of the castle. You also get a peek at looking at Epcot, Walt Disney's dream, and you also get to see Space Mountain, Tron, Tomorrowland Speedway. It's just great. Number 19 is Pirates of the Caribbean. It is a classic Disney staple. It has an unbelievable showcase of storytelling and animatronics and overall feel. It is a great boat ride. Coming in at number 18 is Dinosaur. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from the hardcore Disney fanatics. However, it's a great thrill ride. It is basically Indiana Jones on steroids in terms of thrill, because it is mostly in the dark and it has a great ending. It is unbelievably exciting, and the ride is super jerky. You feel like you're going to be thrown out. I love that. I understand a lot of other people don't, but it's still a great ride. Whoa, the category's changing. At number 17 is Haunted Mansion. This is another great Disney dark ride. Really, the only thing that's putting this so low in the list is the wait times that this ride is currently getting. It is literally 40 minutes plus. It is sometimes very ridiculous, but it is still a Disney staple. It looks great. All of the effects still hold up for the most part, and overall, it's just a ton of fun. At number 16 is Star Tours. Now, over time, as better and better rides keep appearing at Walt Disney World, it seems to be that this ride is getting worse. But that is not the case. It is still an unbelievably innovative and super fun ride. It has a very funny pre-show, and also they added a bunch of new types of adventures, so every time you go on the ride, it will most likely be different. So that is a huge plus. We are now entering the top 15 with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This is a visually stunning masterpiece. It did replace the Great Movie Ride, which was one of my favorite rides. However, it did live up to the hype, and it is an absolute classic in terms of all of these stunning visuals and innovative technologies that have not been done before or have been done since. So it is a great ride. It is great for every type of age group, and there's something for everyone to enjoy. Okay, so number 14 is Millennium Falcon's Smuggler's Run. Now, this ride, for me, once again, because I'm competitive, I love the competitive aspect to it. It's basically like getting to do a flight simulator in real life, but with cool stakes and cool set pieces. I mean, it's really, really cool. The entire queue is pretty impressive for the most part. The ride, though it is repetitive, is still a lot of fun. And even if you're in the gunner's or the engineer seats, it's still a ton of fun. I know it's not as fun as being a pilot, but overall, for me, it's still a really good ride. Alrighty, so coming in at number 13 is the wildest ride in the wilderness, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It still holds up as a really good coaster for all ages. It's still a ton of fun, and it's got to be one of the most iconic rides at the Magic Kingdom. Okay, coming in at number 12 is Kilimanjaro Safaris. Now, I love Animal Kingdom, which I know is a hot take to begin with, but I also love animals. So for me, it's a double whammy in terms of excitement. And for me, I can always see something new. I understand to a lot of people it's the same thing, and most people don't really care about animals and yada, yada, yada. But whatever, I don't think that's the case here. I think it's a ton of fun. That lion roared the time we were there. It was awesome. I love elephants. You get to see them prancing around. For me, it's just a ton of fun and a great ride. Oh, would you believe it or not, another competitive themed ride is at number 11, Toy Story Mania. Once again, one of my favorite rides, because for me, I'm trying to break records from my past times going on the ride every single time I go on. So that in itself is a huge reason to go on it again. We have reached the top 10, and at number 10 is Space Mountain. It's not as good as the Disneyland version. However, it still holds up as quite possibly one of the best indoor coasters in the country, just because it feels like you're going way faster than you actually are. It's a super good ride in terms of nostalgia and overall excitement. And for me, it's space themed, so what's not to love about that? So overall, it deserves a bona fide top 10 spot. Coming in at number 9 is Tron Light Cycle Run. The atmosphere, the music, the colors of this ride easily alone make it a top 10 ride. However, it is a super short ride. For that reason, it's at number 9, but overall still really solid. Alrighty, so coming in at number 8 might be a surprise to some people, Splash Mountain or Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It is not open by the time this video has come out, but I still love the overall layout and the feel of Splash Mountain. It's a really good thrill ride and a nice family ride at the same time. So even with the transformation into Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I still feel like it's going to be an extraordinary ride, and I love this ride. Okay, this is where we get into the heavy hitters with number 7, Test Track. Now, they did announce they are going to be redoing this ride again for more of a old-timey look to the World of Motion. So I think that'll treat this ride a lot better than where it stands right now, because the current theming I do not love. I feel like if it was the past theming, it would be higher on this list. So I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. But overall, this ride has everything you want in terms of thrill. It is the fastest ride at Disney, and it's still a classic. It's been a classic ever since it came out, and it's just a ton of fun. You will love this ride. Coming in at number 6 is Flight of Passage. If you have asked me what was my favorite ride 2 years ago, this would probably be 1 or 2. But since then, so many good rides have opened, and this ride has honestly aged not great. The queue alone makes it a top 5. But it's not a top 5 because it's just the same loop type ride over and over again. If they give you a new scene to fly through, I feel like this would be a lot better to make it kind of like a Star Tours rather than a Soarin'. Overall, it's still really, really good and a ton of fun, but I feel like it needs some sort of visual update. We have now entered the top 5 with Rock and Roller Coaster. I mean, what else is there to say? You get different songs depending on the cars. It's just an amazing thrill ride. Amazing. Next. Anyway, number 4, Expedition Everest. Same thing. What is there to say? It's a super, super detailed ride. An amazing thrill ride. It's so much fun. I mean, look at this. You go backwards. Next. Number 3, Rise of the Resistance. Same thing. The amount of immersion that you have on this ride. The queue is incredible. It doesn't feel like a queue because of how detailed it is. It is so good. There are so many animatronics, and once you get into this part of the ride where you're in this kind of cruiser going through space and then being overtaken by the First Order and then brought into this room, I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's every Star Wars fan wet dream. It's so good. And then on top of that, the actual ride is pretty similar to Mickey Minnie Runaway Railway, where they used a lot of really interesting and innovative techniques that you have not seen before, and then just implement it with the theme of Star Wars, and it is just done so, so well. The ride overall has probably one of the strongest types of atmosphere that you could possibly have, because they're trying to make it feel like you are actually taken by the First Order. There aren't a lot of rides in the entire world that have this type of immersion and this type of atmosphere. The only downfall for this ride is because of how popular it is, you have to wait a really long time to get on this ride or spend money to get on this ride. But it is so worth it. Even the drop that they have at the end of this ride that turns into a motion simulator? Are you kidding? ending that's so good. It's literally a mini Tower of Terror for that thrill aspect, and I love thrill. So overall, an amazing, amazing ride, and that's why it deserves number 3. Speaking of Tower of Terror, what's number 2? Tower of Terror. I mean, what else is there to say about this ride? The thrill is just unbelievable here. It has aged so well, it literally feels like you're stuck in this time period. Even the queue, just the music, the overall, like, pre-show in general sets you up so well for this ride. They got a Pepper's Ghost effect that looks amazing. They're taking the best elements of Haunted Mansion and throwing it into this thrill drop ride. I mean, that's exactly what you want on a huge e-ticket attraction like Tower of Terror. And on top of that, it's also like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where you're moving around. It has so many amazing elements on top of an already great drop ride. You get so much airtime on this ride. Everyone, no matter how many times you go on this, gets scared or poops their pants or something. That is why it deserves number 2 on this list. And now we move into number 1. I mean, to me, this is a no-brainer. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind deserves the number 1 spot for a ton of reasons. The queue, it might as well be perfect. I mean, it just looks amazing. The colors that they have here, the amount of detail they have for each particular spot, I think it's really, really good. You don't need to know Guardians of the Galaxy to get this ride. It is so well crafted, and on top of that, the pre-shows that they have are just extraordinary, and then the actual ride itself has got to be one of the smoothest rides I've ever been on. It has some of the most details. It takes basically Space Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, and puts them together to create this unbelievable once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece. And on top of that, you get different songs and get to go around the moon. It's so good, and just with the vibe that Guardians of the Galaxy already has, it makes it the perfect ride. But without any further ado, I mean, that's going to be it for the ranking of every ride at Disney World. And yes, to be specific, just the rides, not the shows. If you want me to do a ranking of the shows, please let me know. This is a new type of content for this channel, long-form content. So if you want to see more, let me know, and thank you for watching.